See. Oh, all right. We live? Get rid of that. All right. My first time doing it. Cool. All right, let's go. Today we're going to be building a backend, kind of a template for future projects, and decided I'd stream it. So I'm a little bit of a way into the project now. Let's just cool. Let's just check it out first of all. Where to start? So basically, this is an NX monorepo, which is a new way we've been structuring our projects. And basically, if you don't know what it is, a monorepo is one repository for all your code. So usually what you might do is you would have different GitHub repositories or GitLab repositories for all your code, different elements of your code base. So your back end, you'd have one. Your front end would have one. Any admin, any workers, they all might have one, or depends how you set it up. Or sometimes they might even be in one repository, but you will end up having different packages inside one repo. A monorepo has a shared implementation. So with NX, what it does is it basically sets up a lot of config for you. So if you're using a lot of JavaScript based projects, so web or React Native, Angular, Vue, Svelte, whatever it might be, you can share stuff across your repo. Usually what you might do if you weren't using a monorepo is share a common npm package or something like that. But what the NX monorepo does, or the Yarn monorepo, Learner I think it's called, you share one package JSON. And so another benefit to doing that, I suppose, is your packages, you'll ensure that all of your resources are using the same versions of different packages. So this is the foundation of the repo. I mean, if you wanted to check it out, you can check it all out, or you can check it all out here. Sorry, just said I don't know why this keeps coming up. It's my first time doing it, so apologies. Yeah, so NX monorepo, you want to go like this, and you can a workspace. You can create a workspace. It does a lot of the config for you. It's a little tricky setting it up at first, partly because you only really set up a project once every now and again. It's not really something you do all the time. I mean, it's not like just setting up a small API, but you're really setting up this will be for bigger projects. But what you can do is lots of stuff really. So it can cache all your builds. It can integrate all your testing. It can integrate all your deployment, linting and stuff like that. So it runs across the entire stack, which can be useful, can be overkill, especially when you're just trying to get set up. Yeah, I mean, it's got an amazing VS Code extension. as well, which I do kind of open to use sometimes. And it supports lots of different frameworks, libraries, and stuff like that. So it does a lot under the hood to help you kind of build your project, and get it all set up. So as I say, it's one of those things where you kind of leave it a little bit to the CLI to do a lot of the tricks and stuff for the build. So what I've got so far is I'm sure it'll be under Node, or maybe not, but NestJs is, you can easily build NestJs projects with it, which is what I'm working on at the moment. And I find it quite, I like writing TypeScript, although it can be frustrating at times. I do like generally writing TypeScript APIs because they just feel very lightweight and easy, although I know they're really not. It's kind of ironic that Java feels heavy, but it's actually probably a lot more streamlined in terms of performance. But I like NestJS, so we're going to start with that. But the idea is basically, I've already probably done one template, which basically for future projects, what we normally do is if we have a new project coming up, we will have a foundation. And so I've been working on some new boilerplate type projects to give us a real kickstart. And this one I've been doing recently is, as I say, Nx. Previously we used Yarn, but it's a little bit, it misses a lot of features. You've got a lot more built into this Nx. So we're trying to move over to that. So I want to get more familiar with it and kind of really skip the beginnings, the beginning of the setup. And also this project, we're going to be focusing on using event-driven architecture, which is something that we've had a couple of projects to work on recently, but again, it's something that I want to kind of definitely dive deeper into. And instead of following client-based challenges, I want to kind of create my own, get a feel for it. So what we've got so far is, this is the, actually what I can probably do is, yeah, I'm on Windows now, so I'm a little bit sloppy with it all, with all the shortcuts. But my MacBook is at the office, so we're using this today. And this is probably a little bit better for streaming anyway. All right, so let's have a look a little bit at what we got. So let's start with the package JSON. You'll be relatively familiar with this, probably, or maybe not. It depends. I mean, there's probably no one watching right now, but if you do stumble on it and you're not sure, please leave a comment, because I mean, the idea of this is I'm doing it, so I thought I'd stream it, and I don't see that much content on this kind of thing, just kind of building out back end stuff. See a lot of content focus on front end, stuff like that, or just drama. So if you want to learn a little bit more, this is hopefully the place for you. So yeah, if you want to learn something in particular about this, just let me know. I'll go a quick overview now, just so it's up on the channel. But as I said, we're using NestJS, which is backend framework for TypeScript, really. It does support JavaScript. Got a few things set up. I'm using Sequelize for my database management, and Winston for logging. And I'm using a bunch of stuff in my dev environment. But to be honest, most of this comes with Nest when you just start the project up. Additionally, you'll see a bunch of scripts I've got kind of running up here. So the way I like to do my projects these days is I like to have basically, previously, I don't know, it's common practice to use an in-memory database for test and dev, even sometimes, more for test really. However, I just find it frustrating sometimes to manage the differences between SQLite and Postgres or MySQL. There's often small things in your code that don't work, and I decided that it would make more sense for me and my projects to just run. I mean, what you can do and what we often do is just run the MySQL or Postgres on your machine, but then you end up with like 20 different databases in your machine. You also kind of end up trying to manage the data in there as you kind of use it for test cases and stuff, and then you have to export and import, and it gets a little bit messy. So what I like to do is run I'm using Postgres for this. Run a Postgres in a Docker container, and you just use port forwarding to basically make your computer think that it's running on your local machine, but it's actually in a container. So when you delete the container, that reminds me, I should open this. When you delete the container, everything gets cleaned up and it's gone. All right. Cool. Okay. So you can see I've got it all running here. All good to go. So I probably don't. Oh, it's already running. Got my API running already. Stop it. No, still going. Doesn't particularly matter. Cool. Now I'm going to delete this. So yeah, basically the benefits of that is you run your actual database and you don't have to do any workarounds for your testing environment. Yeah, I think it just keeps it a bit more consistent. So yeah, I've got using Docker for that. So I've got a couple of things in here. I've got a Docker file, which is just the base of all, at least for now. I'm only using NestJs. We may have to update that later because I would like to add 2 services or a couple of services that don't use JavaScript. We got the Docker Compose base, which is basically the base layer of the Docker file of the Docker Compose, and this will as we implement more services, it will basically avoid us having to. Well, what this is actually doing is setting up a volume, which is basically going to allow us to use the data from my machine. Or well, I'm actually in Ubuntu. I'm in WSL, and then I'm going in. I'm at 3 layers deep at the moment. But yeah, the actual directory from this virtual machine is then going to be linked to the Docker container, so that we don't have to. So that we keep when we make changes and stuff like that, we'll see the updates immediately. And then also, this node modules is, because we're using a monorepo, each repo is going to have to install node modules, and you don't really want to waste time doing that for every container. If you've got more than one app, take a long time to install those dependencies. So they all basically use the same node modules, and they get a link to that inside their container. And then this is the actual Docker Compose file. So basically it sets up Postgres with some basic parameters, runs a health check. So it takes us a few seconds for Postgres to get started. And then when it does get started, we we can fire up our API 1, which is an NestJs app. You see it uses the Docker Compose base. So it will, as I said, link those file directories. And then it will run this command. It forwards these ports. So if we need debugging, we can connect to this port, hook up a debugger. I haven't really tried that out yet. And then our API listens on port 3000. So it sends port 3000 from our container to the port 3000 on my machine. So we can just send requests directly to port 3000 and they'll hit the container. They'll hit our API. Environment. So we're passing one environment variable just to make sure it's immediately available when it loads up. And then we make sure it waits for this to be, well, basically this to send an OK signal. And this is going to, every 10 seconds, send a request and wait 5 seconds. If it gets anything back, if it doesn't get anything back, it will try again 5 times. And when it gets a request back, it then will launch this. All right. Cool. And yeah, the rest is kind of general stuff. This is all auto set up by the NX project. So you've got an NX JSON, which again, I don't really know what's going on there too much. It's kind of auto config. It's obviously just setting up the locations for these basic files. Oops. And all right, we got cut. Let's dive in. So we've set up a GitHub workflow to run tests as well. Husky for Git commit hooks, although I haven't enabled it yet, but basically, an error. We basically run lint before we commit anything. Though to get deeper into the project, then I will enable that again. And there's some things in there. So what I like to do is I like to run a script that checks my env file locally and make sure that the workflow for that service contains the environment variables, because it won't get committed to GitHub and it should cause an issue if you upload and your workflow fails and you got to make a new commit, rewrite your commit history, etc. All right, so we got apps and common. So common is basically common directory. You can set this up with NX, and what it does is it sets up a little project JSON, and it allows you to basically sets up the configuration so that you can access this in all of your files. All right, and then so what I do in here, lib, and I basically put stuff that I think that I will need in my front end. So what I'm doing at the moment is I basically set up a basic interface for my entities, and what I'm doing is trying to put everything in here so that again the front end eventually will have all this available. And I've been trying to make types which I probably got in this module as well. So I got like case types, entity types. My entity types, just some utility types that emit system fields. So obviously when you create an entity, you don't provide these fields. So we can create a type by passing in the interface here, and it will make sure that none of these fields are required. Exclude the model. So again, if we don't want to include any of the model properties, we can pass our interface in here. And I create attributes is a combination. So you provide both, and it will all it does really. And this is kind of why TypeScript can be a little bit frustrating. That's another story. All that will do is basically say when we get our create order API, instead of making an I create order, an I update order, and all these different interfaces, we can just make one and pass the utility type, and it will automatically tell us, okay, this is an I create attribute, so we don't need this, we don't need this, so we don't need this. And it gets a little bit messy, but you can see here I'm actually using it specifically for this item. So again, this should actually be an optional parameter, but we'll deal with that later. Yeah, so the idea is that I'm using types to reduce code, although it can be a little bit complex. Utils, yeah, just some basic utilities there. Anyway, going too deep in there, we'll try and cover some of those as they come up. When you create a resource, so I probably should just open VS Code because I can't remember all the CLI commands. Okay, so that's my DB schema, which will come into later. We can say NX console generate, and we basically get all these CLI commands that we can use. So what you can do is you go NX Nest application, and if you click on that, well, it'll bring up another menu and you can fill it out, blah, blah, blah. And then what it will do is it will add a project here. You call it front end admin, worker process, and it'll be linked up and it will have access to your common libraries, and it'll have access to any of the packages you've already installed. I've only got one so far, so the back end. Again, I've been trying to do something a little bit different. I've been trying to really focus more on domain-driven architecture. So trying to make sure that all of my domain logic is in the same place. Although it is tricky with some of these frameworks that do force certain styles onto you. So databases is pretty standard for any project. Config, migrations, and then this is a little configuration file that gets set up when you kick off SQLize. That's also generated by Nx. Oh, some util stuff that literally will only be required in the backend. Although if I do any other NestJS APIs, then I'll probably move this to the common. I don't need to go into that now. You'll see that later. And then this is how my app is formatted. We've got the app directory, which is, I believe, an NestJS convention. At least when I used NX to set it up this way, that's how it came out. So you might see that called API or something. Decorators. So these are like global decorators. You can see the names there. Filters, guards, interceptors. And when you generate this all with through the NX console, NX Nest, create this, and it automatically sets up a spec or a test file for you. So you get lots of test coverage. I will focus on testing later, but not doing TDD right now. Got other priorities, and it's personal project. So all right, and then in terms of domain, then a couple of pipes as well. And if you're not familiar with this stuff, the NestJS docs are fantastic, but they're basically kind of functions that intercept your express request at different points in the code. So a pipe would go before your route, an interceptor would go at the end of your route. A filter is kind of like a middleware. All right, and then modules is where I keep the actual kind of domain logic. So base is just some utility stuff. Auth baskets, config module. So these are all the NestJS modules that we've got. All right. Okay, that's it. We're gonna start coding now. What we can run, we should be able to run yarn dev docker and wait for it to start with it. I think there is a bug. I think I had to stop coding this afternoon, so it might fail because I've been trying to. Yeah. So what was I doing? I was creating baskets. So what I want to do is I want, this is the logic that I want to implement. So when a user adds an item to their basket on my application, so it's a retail API basically, we're not going to start an order at that point. This is going to be called a basket, and the basket will have many basket detail items. And so as we add an item, we are going to create a basket, and we're going to add a detail item. And now, if the user, obviously, if they add more items, we add more items. But if they delete the item, we're going to just mark it as removed. And so we want to build up a history of what did they put in their basket. So again, longer term, we would be looking to analyze maybe consumer behavior and what potentially, if you wanted to build recommendation engines and stuff like that, or do more complex analysis, or if you just wanted to have like a history, undo or whatever, you can just get the last item removed or whatever. Yeah, all right, I'm going to stop this Docker container for now, because it just annoys me when it's erroring out like that. Yeah, so right. So then when the user clicks go to checkout, what we're eventually going to do is we're going to set up a timer basically of like 15 minutes to complete checkout. Could be a completely arbitrary time. And I'm going to try and set up some worker processes, some events using Kafka or Nats. I don't know, depends. I haven't thought that far ahead. I'm just trying to get to that point. And when when the user is going to checkout, we create an order. We set the basket as checked out, and then we create an order. So the order will basically tell us, all right, this user took this basket and they went further, basically. So it's kind of another step in the process. And then obviously they could pay or not pay or whatever. And we will, we'll be able to, again, check, maybe see what caused any issues, see what they bought. Did they stop paying? And then we'll better set up a couple of other processes that basically update the kind of main API. So probably what we do in a production environment is set up a read replica so that our maybe our worker processes could check if the user was paying, if the time's expired, whatever, and they don't have to make calls to the main database. Then our main API could do the update, basically. I'm not going full complete like microservices where each service has their own database, because just overkill for this. I don't really see myself at this point making any projects requiring that level of architecture from the beginning. To be honest, a lot of projects, a lot of the MVP projects would just be EC2 or whatever, maybe like a medium EC2, even maybe even running Docker in Compose inside of it just to get the thing going. So, but the idea is that you set up your project like this. It's easier later to adjust it if you get to that point, and if not, well, we've got our template to speed it up. All right, so what I was doing was, where are we? We're here. Basket dot entity. So I was getting an error with what was my error? Foreign key order is missing on basket. So what happened there? Baskets.ts. So why am I foreign key order? So I did, wondering if, so I had a slight issue where I made the orders migrations first, and then I realized actually I wanted to have this basket functionality, and then I didn't want to, I had a bit of issue with the way they were running, so I reordered them. I reordered the migrations so that I could add basket ID. Basket ID. Allow no field references basket ID. Drop table orders. Create table orders. Order dot. And it's NeoVim having some kind of problems today. Field basket ID. Foreign key basket. Press the wrong button. I'm used to my Mac. Let's do it like this. Let's go basket.entity.ts orders.entity.ts has one basket. Let's comment this out then, see what happens. I don't see. Control. What is the shortcut on here? It's Control B%, and we can close this. Does it work on here? Doesn't work on Windows. Okay, coding. Then different example. Yard Docker nvim dot. Let's see what happens. See if it runs. All right, so it's running with no. So I think it is. I got the. T. Okay. Oh, user ID. So many items. Oh, maybe I've done the wrong thing. Foreign key. Oh, I see. I see. Oh, goodness. All right. It's going to take me a little while to get used to the older PowerShell. All right. So let's go back to entity.ts. So as you can see, it's just reloading. All right. So yeah. Okay. So it doesn't have one basket. Well, let's see what happens later if we feel that we need to, if we're missing something. It's at least working for now. So basket detail entity. Did we set this up completely? All right, let's do some testing. I'm probably only going to stream for another 15-20 minutes today, but as I said, if you stumble across this video and you've watched this far and there is something you'd like to learn, do feel free to leave a comment. All right, so yes, let's make that a little bit bigger. Local API. Okay, cool. It should hopefully close all tabs. Discard changes. Discard. Don't save. All right. Hopefully, yes. Cannot get API. Yes, that's what I did. So I've made some adjustments here. Now if we send that, cool. So I might use this time actually just to kind of talk you through my thinking and what I'm trying to do. So by default, all responses will be formatted like this, with data, property, and a message. May at some point set up internationalization, but I haven't done that yet. Oh yeah, that's one thing we could actually show is we can say localhost /API /v1/docs. So we've got a Swagger set up. So as you can see, one thing that's pretty cool, right? If we look at this, we've got all of our schemas available here. So let's go create user and let's find it in here. Create user DTO, and you can see we've got it set up here like this. So if I go back to Postman and I go create account, I got this set up, and you can see I send it here and we get it back. Username, whatever, no password field there. So what I did, okay, all users.controller. So what I've done, probably can delete that because I was just testing yesterday. What we got, I'll create user DTO, our user, and we label it all with our API properties. We've got some custom decorator, Snake API property. So what that will do is reformat this to this. So you can see we get Snake. I just like to do Snake from external APIs. I've had issues in the past where capitals get kind of messed up. So I like camel case inside the API, inside the code base, and snake on the outside. And as I said, I don't like writing a lot of DTOs and stuff. Orders.controller.ts. Oh, it's not. It's users.controller.ts. And then we've got a couple of things here. I may try and fix this because it's kind of annoying me. But normally what we do is we would just make lots and lots of DTOs and stuff. But I wanted to try and automate it in this project. So I've made this decorator, which basically calls a function to convert all the keys to camel case. And it might seem a bit kind of stupid, but I did test it and really only got milliseconds on thousands of object properties, and even nested multiple levels. So I'm going to give it a go and see how it works. But we need to keep the body one for the validation, although I think I can just call the validation in here. I haven't tested it yet. We may try and fix that later. And then we use one of our utility types to camel, which basically tells us we're going to receive this DTO, but all the properties will be camel case. And what you can see here, well, you can see there's no error coming out here. This, our create body also receives that property. And if we remove it like this, you'll see if we bring that up, you can see it is actually requiring the camel case properties. It's awesome. That's why I like TypeScript. Also, I hate it sometimes. All right. Anyway, let's go back to Postman. So let's create a user. Oh, we already created a user. Cool. So this is a chance to show you another feature. So we get our stack trace. Something went wrong. We're not sure. I have actually logged the error here because I was testing this yesterday. But what we can actually do is we can go up. Can I just, maybe I can search it. Dist. It's in dist. It's not going to appear here because it's in gitignore. Anyway, we go to dist, we go to apps, we go to backend, logs, error, and you can see it's actually outputting our error logs here. Validation error, blah blah. So we got logs set up with a 14-day log rotation. So eventually we hopefully get some connect it to CloudWatch logs or something like that, so we can kind of keep a record of them. And we may even start implementing trace logs and try and get some dashboards, some live metric dashboards going. Okay, cool. And then basically the error was intercepted, and we got this back because this error is actually uncaught in our application, but we set up a pipe interceptor to catch any uncaught errors on our routes, which maybe I'll show you later. Oh, let's create a product. So again, admins will be able to create products, get products, which send us back all of this, like that. Now, if we try to create an order, we should get an error, hopefully. Yes, cool. And this is what I've been working on last night. And then trying to get the stream working today, so I haven't really done anything. But in theory, we should be able to create a basket. Something went wrong. Basket. Okay, cool. So I haven't actually set up basket.entity.ts. I probably need to export I'm guessing, did I basket detail, export equalize format or feature basket detail? Basket is basket repository. Okay. Service.ts. Basket. What did it say? It said model not initialized member create cannot be called. Basket needs to be added to. Yes, I know why. At dot module dot. Oh. Basket. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Cool. Basket and basket detail. So yeah, you need to tell NestJS. You need to tell NestJS what model, where your models are, and we're still getting invalid. Yes. All right. I know what's going on. For some reason, well, actually, I believe what's going on here. Bloody Neovim. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Basket.service.ts, and we are going to, yes. So because I set up decimal types, numeric types in Postgres, they are being saved as strings. So when I call this, I need to call number constructor. I like to do it that way just to be extra clear. And hopefully, what's wrong this time? Basket details does not exist. Basket details create many. Oh, okay, let's see if we can fix this. Then we'll probably check off relation basket details. Cool. Basket detail relationship does not exist. Basket ID for an ID basket. Product ID. Relation basket details does not exist. Got it there. We got it. Oh, do I need to do a as many basket detail? All right, let's go basket.service.ts, and we will say let's just check what we're getting here. Okay, all right, so we got this. Oh, we are getting our basket ID of 2. So the basket is being created. Create many. Am I missing a field? Relation basket details does not exist. I'm too tired to figure this one out. I don't know if I can even copy on this. Not just Postgres. Ah. Details. Ah, let's see, have I? Oh, okay, so that's called basket details. Oh, you little. That's what happens when you copy and paste code. Oh, and what was this? That's horrible. All right. So now we actually need to say, let's get the whole thing going again. So this is the health check. See, it takes a few seconds to load. It's ready to go, ready to accept connection. So I'll send in our check. It's done. Running our migrations. Cool. All right. Let's look. So I think if we get products, are we going to have, nothing there. If we try and do this, nothing there. First, we need to create an account, create some products, create a basket. Yeah, cool. So we got a basket ID 2 for some reason. So now if we add basket ID 2, that should be okay. Cool. You can see our items there. Tells us our total amount. Cool. So now just one last thing that we'll do. We'll go in here and have a look. Oops. Exec, I believe. Oh, I can't remember, is it PSQL U root dev EB? So we could say select star from, we have to do just like that. Cool. We can maybe make that a little bit bigger. Cool. Select star from products, and we get it like that. We can say select star from baskets. Cool. And basket details. And orders and order details. And so you can see that in this API, we just send a list of item IDs, and then our backend will automatically create the records in our detail directories. And then if we just end that, and then let's go back to VS Code for 1 second, and we check out our schema. You can see this is how we got it set up so far. So orders, order details, which links to products, and we've got basket details, which links to products, and then users can have many baskets, many orders, blah blah blah. All right, cool. And that is a very basic kind of overview of what we've got. All right. Hopefully, I'll be back online tomorrow to kind of keep working through and get to the next steps. So next steps, what will we be implementing? We will be implementing probably a checkout feature. We may be might implement purchase, something like that. And then eventually the time checkout that is the next thing I want to work on. Cool. All right. Thanks if anyone did check in, and I'll see you in the next video.